Hi, and welcome to this presentation on emotional authority. I'm Karen McMullen, and I'm looking forward to sharing this with you. So, just to review, before we even get to authority, again, the most important thing is that you're following your type's strategy. So if you're a generator with this open, enveloping aura that's attracting all the right things to you, your strategy is to wait to respond. And that's kind of like your first line of defense. It's making sure that you meet the right experiences, the right people. If you're a projector with that focusing, penetrating, and absorbing aura, then you're here to wait to respond, wait for invitations and times where you feel really recognized for who you are and you get an invitation to share what you have to offer. Manifestors, you are here, with this dense, repelling aura to do your thing and to inform people about your movement through life. And as a reflector, you are here to reflect your environment back to itself and to be a barometer of the health of your environment. And almost like a projector and a generator, you're waiting for something to come your way and then to give it a lunar cycle to make your decision about what's right for you. So wait to respond, wait for the invitation, inform, and wait a lunar cycle. Following your strategy, so important, and that's really comes before we even get to authority, and it can't be emphasized enough. So please, that's your number one practice, is to really get to know your aura's strategy and how that works. Now let's say you're following your strategy and now you need to make a decision. This is where your decision-making authority comes in. This is where you can go in your body to make decisions about what's right for you. And the authority has kind of a hierarchy. So, if you have the solar plexus center defined, which is what we're talking about with emotional authority, then you have emotional authority. If you have the sacral center defined, but you don't have this emotional center defined, you have sacral authority. And if you have the spleen defined and you don't have either of these centers defined, then you have splenic authority. And there are 4 other authorities that are quite a bit less common. So these 3 represent the most common authorities that you will typically see when you look at a chart. So today we're talking about those of us that have the solar plexus center defined, and that includes me. So this is probably the authority that I truly know the best, because it is what something I have direct experience with. The solar plexus center has to do with emotions. It also has to do with the nervous system. So nervousness, nervous energy is something that's really going to come into play as we explore this authority. And the emotion and the emotional awareness of that this center really provides moves in a wave. It goes up and down between highs and lows, and it's always in flux. So the emotional being, if you have emotional definition, you are here to be a varied being where, some days you wake up and you're just happy, and then other days you wake up and you're melancholic or in a rut. And it's just how it is. You're here to experience emotional fluctuations. And that's natural. It's a part of having the defined solar plexus. Depending on how you're feeling, it will color your perception of everything. So on a day where you wake up and you're feeling a little melancholy or blah, everything's going to look blah. Like the opportunities that yesterday looked really full of promise are going to seem very lackluster. And that's really important to see, is how much your perception of life and your decisions are colored by how you feel. And I really imagine that you'll really start to see this as you experiment with it, and now that I'm telling you about it. Emotional beings are conditioned to suppress their emotions. We live in a society that tells us, oh, don't feel. I can't tell you how many times as a child I was told, like, oh, don't be so sensitive, don't be upset. And really, this is a way that we get tuned out of our true power to make decisions about what's right for us. So the way that you feel is important to your decision making, and part of having emotional authority is coming back to really honoring how you feel and paying close attention to how you feel. And that goes against conditioning. You might have a partner that has a open solar plexus and really doesn't get that you're so emotional. And so this is not about anyone else. This is about you having emotional authority and really staying true to how you feel. The key phrase for you, if you have emotional authority, is that there is no truth in the now. There's no truth in the now. We don't know what's right for us in the now, because on a good day, today was great. That decision looks awesome. Yeah, let's do it. And on a bad day, that decision looks horrible. No way I'm doing that. And it's really hard to make a decision right away from a clear place when you are, so influenced by your perception is colored by how you feel in that moment. And so the secret to being having emotional authority is to give things time, let the decision percolate, and look at how that decision seems from the different views. So if you're feeling good, how does that decision look that day? If you're feeling kind of blah, how does that decision look that day? And over time, a clear picture will emerge. I love this slide. It just gives this kind of kaleidoscope view of how an emotional person can really see through all these different lenses. And it's only when they've taken the time to really see a decision from several different vantage points that the clarity starts to come through over time. So time is your friend. Give things time. No making decisions in the moment. So that looks like, someone asks you, hey, do you want to come over for dinner tonight? And you say, yeah, that sounds really good. Let's check in a few hours. It's something as simple as that. Or, do you want to rent this apartment? It seems like it's possible. I'd like to get back to you in the next few days. Give yourself time. Even if someone's asking you or pressuring you to make a decision, if they really need to know now, the answer is no. It's like, if you really need to know right now, then the answer is no, because I need time to get clear. And what I have found is that people will give you time when you really demand it, or you make it clear that that's just what you need in order to be able to make a decision. The tendency with people who have emotional definition is that when they're happy, they want to hold on to that happiness. And when they're unhappy, they want to avoid the unhappiness. And this is like a resistance to what the truth is, which is that they're in flux between both states. And so a better approach is just to embrace the highs when they're there and embrace the lows when they're there. And over time, your decisions will become clear when you move through the highs and the lows, and you get to see how it looks over time. Yeah, the mind is always giving reasons for how you feel and making up stories. And, the truth is, it's like sometimes those, oftentimes those stories are just completely inaccurate, and they're just stories. And and the more you can detach from stories, the better, because, the hardest thing is where your emotions are saying, for whatever reason, this isn't right for me, and you have no idea why. You don't know the reason, and yet like, to trust that. That's the challenge, is like, can you really trust what your emotions are telling you, even if you don't know why? Because oftentimes it can be subtle. It's like just a subtle feeling, oh, this doesn't really quite feel right. I have found that the more that I pay attention to my emotions, that the subtlety of that awareness becomes more, that there's a refinement, and that there's more information that comes through the emotions. So it's an awareness center that is evolving, and that you can evolve in yourself and make it more and more fine-tuned over time. Having emotional authority, this is one of my favorite tricks, is push things away. So if something's coming into your life, emotional beings are very seductive in a way. They, the emotional center is the center of all things yummy. So sex and food and art, and there's a warmth that emanates from this center, and it's very attractive. So if something's really right for you, you will find that you almost can't escape it. It's going to keep coming back to you. And the more that you take your time and you just kind of push things away, then the things that are right will stick around. And then, even better than that, the deal keeps getting sweeter for you. So the things, like, let's say you're thinking of hiring someone. Now, instead of making the decision right away to hire them, you give it some time and you really feel it out. And over time, you can find that negotiating the deal with that person gets sweeter for you. Like, it becomes a better deal. Or let's say you are being hired. Same thing applies. It's like you push it away, you give it some space, the terms get sweeter. So don't play hard to get. And this is magic. It's so incredible to see how this works. I truly wouldn't have believed it until I did it, because I used to be such a go after it person. I thought if I pushed things away, they would never, nothing would ever come to me, but it just wasn't true. So it's nice to see this reminder, actually, to do so. An unhealthy expression of having emotional authority would be to resist your emotions and make decisions from that. So if you're happy, making decisions trying to hold on to happy feelings. And if you're sad, making decisions to avoid sad feelings, or just acting out of anger, being impulsive. That creates chaos, waves of unprocessed nervous energy that's coming off of you, creating all kinds of ripples everywhere in your life. And this is really what most people with emotional definition do, is they make decisions in their highs and their lows, and they create chaos all around them. When doing so really causes them to miss the gift of being who they are, which is to be a wise being, moving slowly through life, not impulsively through life, but taking their time and having a depth of awareness that comes from taking their time and moving from a calm, clear place. The process of feeling is healing. It allows you to really experience your life from a place of depth of awareness and honoring the time that it takes for you to be clear is such a precious experience. It really, in my experience, it slows down everything to a pace that's very delicious. A pace of life where, things are moving and unfolding more in a natural way, and where there's time and space to honor the process of feeling your feelings as you go along your path. The downs, the lows carry so much insight when you have emotional authority. So to me, those are gifts. It's like, don't resist the down. Just dive into it, explore it, learn from it. That's where there's so much richness to be harvested in terms of insight, about your direction and about what's really right for you. For all emotional beings, clarity is a relative term accompanied by a calmness in the body. So again, just reminding you that the solar plexus center really has to do with the nervous system and nervous energy. So any time that you feel nervous or anxious in a decision, that's a stop sign. That's a red flag. You are not clear. You haven't found clarity yet. I've been in interactions with people where just being around them, I feel nervous. And, that's a sign. That's a sign from your emotional authority that, wow, this, something about this isn't right. This is, I'm not clear and I'm not calm here in this situation. I've also had the experience, one time I bought a ticket to an event. I bought it under pressure because there was a deadline, and after that deadline, I think the price went up. So that, typical marketing strategy. That's really hard on emotional beings. And I bought the program. That night, I couldn't sleep. I was so nervous. My body just would not let me rest. So that's the opposite of calm and clarity. It's a feeling of nervousness. So when I woke up in the morning, I could feel the anxiety through my whole body. And I promptly sent an email asking for a refund because I just realized, wow, this isn't right for me. And every ounce of my mind wanted to go to that thing. And this is the trick is, there's so many decisions where my mind, my personality just wants something so bad, but my emotional self says something different. There's nervousness or it just doesn't feel right. And this is really, again, about surrendering to your authority and honoring yourself. Clarity is a relative term, so the thing with emotional authority is that there's almost never a true certainty. It's more like if you can get 70% clear that something's right for you, that's a good sign. It's like, I just kind of feel like this is right, and I don't know why, and overall it just seems like the right move. And ideally there's a calmness. Clear and calm are your guiding words if you have emotional authority. That's, your ideal state is that you're not moving forward out of a high or a low. You're not making decisions out of a high or a low. You're not even really saying too much to the people who you love in a high and a low. Certainly not saying anything decisive. And over time, you'll see that you do become a lot more calm and clear and no anxiousness, no nervousness in your expression. And clarity has its own agenda. It doesn't move on your timeline. So, you might take a year to become clear about which car to get. Or I had one woman say she was having an interaction with someone, and it took her 3 months to be clear about how to respond by email. So for her, that was a big aha. It's like, oh, I might need to wait a whole lot longer than I think I will in order for clarity to come. And it did come. It just took longer than she thought. And that's pretty typical experience with emotional authority. The person with emotional authority gets to bring depth to all of life, because where a person with without emotional definition, they would take a snapshot, a photo of a flower, and they would see that view like crystal clear as it is. Whereas the emotional person, they're more like taking 15 snapshots of that same flower. They took a picture of it at dawn and it looked one way. And then they took a picture of it at noon and it looked another way. And then they took a picture of it in a rainstorm and it looked another way. And then they took a picture of it, while it was dying and it looked another way. And they're getting all kinds of different views of the flower. And so they get to know that flower in a more nuanced way and bring, a depth of understanding of that flower that, is a real gift. And so as you sink into having emotional authority, it does mean slowing down, making decisions over time, waiting for clarity, and in that process, what naturally arises is a depth of insight and understanding that you can offer the world. And that's a real gift that you have. I imagine that as you follow your emotional authority, you'll find that you make fewer decisions, that fewer things are right for you, that you slow down, and that with less chaos and more calm, that you can bring more richness to everything that you're doing. It's certainly been my experience, and so I'm excited for you to experience that. If you have someone with emotional authority in your life and you don't have an emotional authority, you can really honor that person by giving them time and space to decide and not putting them under pressure to be clear before they are. That's really the greatest gift you can give that person with emotional authority is letting it be okay that they don't even know what they want for dinner. It's like, do you want to go to this restaurant? It's like, I don't know. And they're not clear yet. And you know, just to give them a little bit of time and space. It might not take very long at all for something small like that for them to be clear. It's like, I don't know, that, you know, that restaurant just doesn't feel quite on. You know, it feels like it'd be nicer to go somewhere with more of an ambiance. So, yeah, giving that person time and space to become clear. So let's start with the unhealthy expression of emotional authority. Acts impulsively, makes mental decisions from a single emotional experience, you know, blames or praises others for being the cause of their feeling, has a superficial taste of life, afraid of their own depth of feeling. I would say that one I've seen a lot of, is someone with emotional authority who is really moving too fast, doing a whole bunch of things, and, you know, as a result is just skimming the surface of what their true potential is, and also creating a lot of chaos along the way. The healthy expression is that they wait. So they, you know, as an emotional authority person, you know, if you're a projector or a generator, then your thing is wait, and then wait some more. Wait, and then wait some more. You know, wait to respond. And then when something comes, wait some more. Wait for an invitation, and then wait some more. So get good at being. Does not believe their own stories. You know, can see beyond their mind's stories about what they're feeling. Doesn't unload emotions on others. Really allows all their feeling, and, you know, is tuned in both to the ups and the downs. Appreciates their process and doesn't diminish it by kind of catering to others' decision-making pressures. So good luck. I hope that you enjoy experimenting with emotional authority, and I'd love to hear your feedback about how it goes for you. Much love, and yeah, bye.